We are looking at an individual engulfed by compounding crises. Their health is deteriorating rapidly, their business ventures are bleeding capital, and they are struggling with severe obsessive-compulsive tendencies. Amidst this total destabilization of their daily life, the native is asking a highly specific, urgent question. Should they completely abandon their current career path and start over? This session transcript documents the exact reality on the ground. We can see explicit references to severe, ongoing losses in both business and general income. To understand why this is happening, we turn to the native's astrological chart. This is a Virgo ascendant, rising at exactly 12 degrees and 52 minutes in the first house. In this specific configuration, Saturn, Mars, the Sun, Rahu, and Ketu become functional malefics. They are the active forces generating friction and systemic hardship. Virgo ascendant charts are notoriously complicated because they often contain up to 5 malefic planets. When a chart is this heavily afflicted, standard career advice simply does not apply. The only way to know if a sudden job change is a genuine escape route or a fatal misstep is to map the exact mathematical placement of these planetary forces. We start at the first house, the Lagna, which governs the self and baseline vitality. Here, we find the Sun positioned at precisely 14 degrees and 3 minutes. The Sun is occupying the Moon's nakshatra, Hasta. At the same time, it is casting a direct aspect straight across the chart onto the Moon itself, which sits at 16 degrees and 26 minutes in Pisces. This tight 2-degree spatial relationship means the malefic Sun is heavily impacting the Moon. This dynamic severely damages the Moon's general significations, directly destabilizing the native's emotional well-being and physical health. Returning to the first house, we see another critical vulnerability. Jupiter is placed here, but at an extremely late 27 degrees and 30 minutes, rendering it mathematically weak. With both the Sun afflicting the Moon and a weakened Jupiter in the Lagna, the first house is thoroughly compromised. The native currently lacks the foundational internal strength required to survive massive external disruptions. But why the intense, sudden desire to quit their job? For that, we examine the second house, where Mercury at 6 degrees and 6 minutes is in tight conjunction with Mars at 8 degrees and 52 minutes. Mercury governs the intellect, but here it sits in a nakshatra ruled by Mars. Mars operates as a functional malefic in this chart, and it is the mechanical force artificially instigating the urge to abandon their position. The native's internal drive is screaming for a change, but the actual planetary indicators for career stability tell a completely different story. To safely leap from one job to another, you need solid indicators of career advancement. In this nativity, both the prime and secondary determinants of career are critically weak. Acting on this Mars-induced impulse right now would be jumping without a parachute. It would accelerate their professional decline rather than resolve their frustrations. We can track exactly where the native's wealth is draining by following the chain of dispositors, the ruling planets that connect the houses together. The first link in this chain connects the first house of the self to its ruling planet, Mercury, which is sitting directly in the second house of accumulated wealth. We then follow the ruling planet of that second house, which takes us straight down into the 12th house, landing on Venus. The 12th house is the zone of isolation, heavy expenses, and outright losses. Venus is placed in its own nakshatra here, but because it is trapped in the 12th house, its overall strength is heavily compromised. This structural circuit locks the native in place. It links the self to their wealth and then dumps it directly into a house of loss, making severe financial bleeding an absolute certainty under the current planetary periods. All of this evidence leads to a definitive verdict. Initiating a job change in this current astrological climate is unequivocally the wrong strategic move. The real threat isn't the job itself. The chart is currently suffocating under a high concentration of malefics operating close to the most effective points of the horoscope, actively afflicting all the odd-numbered houses. The survival strategy requires an internal shift. Instead of trying to force a change in the external environment, the native has to systematically pacify the active malefics and reinforce the weakened benefics. The first necessary countermeasure is an emerald on the ring finger. This supports Mercury, shoring up a vulnerability in the second house. The second prescription is a high-quality pearl, also on the ring finger, reinforcing the moon against heavy affliction from the sun. While Saturn is mathematically weak by degree, it requires no physical intervention. The entire strategic focus must remain strictly on strengthening Mercury and the moon. The true value of precise astrological diagnostics is not in predicting unavoidable doom. It is in identifying the exact structural countermeasures required to anchor a person in place, allowing them to outlast periods of intense temporary volatility.